Hey, you're listening to Blindsight. Let's go. Mental health isn't something to take lightly. It's time to fight. It's time to thrive. Let's do this.
Hello, welcome to Blindsight, your program on mental health. I'm your host, Bill Lundgren, and as we have frequently do, our producer, Jonathan Price, is going to be joining me because we're going to be talking about the holidays and dealing with family and all that kind of stuff. And there's a lot to talk about, as all of our listeners probably are aware. Before we do that, I want to make a couple announcements. One is thank you to those who contributed to Denver Cares. We got a nice amount of funding, and it's so nice to know that people support us like that. It really is meaningful. Even more than the money. It's the knowing that people are supporting us in that way. And also remind you that in January, the names change. We will now, as a program, as an organization, will be called Aftersight, which really makes it easier for somebody like me who can't remember anything to give the name of the organization instead of Audio Information Network of Colorado. And I knew we were going to get a name change because I finally could say it. And then as soon as I can say it, they change it. But now Aftersight, which is the first of our podcasts, with Penn Street as the very capable host, is now called Blind Chick. And so remember, you can access it as Blind Chick, and we'll continue to access this program by Blindsight. And if you want to contact the organization, it's going to be Aftersight. Now, you'll be given a final exam at the end of the show to find out how much you remember of what I just said. So, Jonathan, welcome.
Thanks, Bill. It's good to be here. It's always fun to be here.
Yeah. And if you could tell everybody about our feedback line, that's the final announcement.
Yeah, our feedback line, we actually have two ways to get a hold of us so that you're keeping engaged with what's going on. We have an email, which is feedback@aincolorado.org. That will be changing on January 8th to feedback@aftersight.org. But then we have a phone number, and that will not be changing. The phone number is 720-712-8856. Again, 720-712-8856. And if you have questions regarding mental health, or you have a situation you'd like some advice on, or you have a generic questions for not only Bill or myself, but any of our hosts, that's the best line to get a hold of us. It is a voicemail line, so we can transcribe the voicemail, or we can broadcast your voicemail and answer it directly. And so we'll have a few of those starting in the month of January. So make sure you get those questions in. We'd love to hear from you and hear your comments and feedback. And just thank you guys so much for donating to Colorado Gives Day and keeping not only this show, but all of our other shows running and humming. We just found out that not only Aftersight, but Blind Level Tech are ranked in the top 25% of all podcasts, which there's about 123,000 active podcasts nationwide. And so both of those shows rank nationally in the top 25%. So thank you guys so much for your continued support. And this show and Navigating Life are not far behind. They'll hit that within the next couple of months. So it's awesome.
Wow.
It's such an awesome time to be running these shows. And so I can't thank you guys enough for listening to this show and listening to all of our others. So without further ado, I guess, Bill, we're going to get into it.
Right. Well, as I said, we're going to be talking about family and holidays. I'm excited because for the first time I've managed to decorate my place by, before the end of the first week of December instead of January 1st,
Nice.
which is when I generally finish before.
Good job, sir.
But anyway, so I'm getting into the Christmas spirit. But we were talking about family get-togethers, which a lot of people do. And I kind of entitled it dealing with, well, Jonathan, you know the term an elephant in the room. You use it a lot in terms of identifying the alcoholic in the family that nobody talks about.
Right.
But the family get-together, to my mind, can be, and hopefully not, but can be a whole herd of elephants in the room.
Yes. A giant stampeding horde of angry elephants,
Right,
usually.
exactly. And because there's so many things, you take politics, for example, and Eleanor is a liberal, and Uncle Harry is a conservative.
Yeah.
And how do we negotiate that? And then somebody in the room is a closeted gay man.
Right.
I could go through a whole list of secrets.
Oh, yeah.
That we hold.
Yeah.
And we try to negotiate all of that at Christmas time.
Yep.
Because some people know, some people don't. And so, what do we do about this? If you're the host, tearing your hair out won't do it.
No. I don't have that problem. I don't have any hair. Although I have hair on my face, a nice thick beard. But
right.
Anyway,
right.
sorry, I digress.
Scratch your scalp to a bloody mess,
That's
trying
right.
to figure out what to do to deal with all these people and secrets, especially if they start to come out.
Right.
And we've even talked about eating disorder. I mean, we've talked about a lot of the things that go on.
Yeah.
But anyway, in terms of how do you negotiate? And particularly, one of the things is if someone in the family is newly blind or has some condition that is new, then what people do oftentimes is what I call OIPD. That is, oh, you poor dear. And it becomes enabling,
Sure.
and the person with the disability isn't allowed to do anything.
Right.
People will just go ahead and cut up your dinner or put you with the children.
Oh, my
and
gosh.
give you pablum or something because they don't know what to do.
Just pat you on your head and send you on your way.
Right. And any number of times I've had people just take over for me at a party, and they haven't asked me.
Yeah.
And one of the things, okay, what do we do about this? If let's say we're a person who just recently lost their sight or they have a disability, there are a couple things. One, it would be so helpful for the host or hostess to communicate with that person before the party.
Sure.
And say, look, is there any way that might be helpful for us to assist you? Is it cutting up the meat in small portions? Kind of work that out beforehand.
Right.
Or, to rather than waiting till you're in the midst of welcoming people and preparing and so forth, and that isn't the time to try to figure all that out.
No, private conversations are definitely the way to go, especially if there's a big event or something happening in your life. It's better to have as many one-on-one conversations before you get to a big gathering, because you never want it to come out in, you see these play out in movies and Hollywood scripted, things all the time, not to mention in real life, but where you tell something to somebody and they go, oh, like say your husband, wife, you're pregnant, and the wife tells her sister, but nobody else. And she goes, "Oh, when is the baby due again?" And then the whole room knows. And you're like, well,
the whole room knows. Right.
I wasn't expecting that to come out just quite yet. But yeah, have those private conversations as often as you can, unless you're going to be announcing to the group, then make sure that you don't tell anybody. Or if you do tell somebody, like you're pregnant or something like that, that you're going to make a big announcement and big reveal so that they can not share that information with anybody else. Communication is the big key.
And also, for example, there are situations where there's been a divorce or a separation, or there's been a death.
Yep.
And all you need is to have a guest come in and say, "Oh, where's so-and-so?"
Right. And
then you say,
yep.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing.
Yeah, kick to the curb.
Yeah. And you say, okay, let's get these, instead of being the elephant in the room, see what you need to do to not have that be an issue.
Yeah.
Now, when we get into politics, then that's where you may have to, you as the host or hostess are going to have to intervene and say, look, we're not going to have a big fight.
Right.
And, or if there's a person who is an active alcoholic coming to the party, if you decide not to invite that person, you're entirely in your right to do that, or to say to that person, okay, nobody talks about the fact of your drinking, but I am going to have to put my foot down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's real hard to do because, people feel wounded and so forth. But you're, as the host or hostess, you've got responsibility for keeping everybody at least reasonably sane.
Yes, for sure.
That's the way I can put it.
There's a word we're kind of dancing around here, and I don't know if you have noticed this, but when you're talking about overcoming these elephant in the room situations, it's more of an element of trying to not shame anybody, to make sure that everything is going well. And it's different from people pleasing, but you never want to shame anybody into doing something or not doing something. There's a good way to handle those conversations.
Yeah. And you can say, there's some people whose politics are different from yours. Mm-hmm. And, I don't want an uproar, and I don't want to shame you, but I'm letting you know that let's keep the politics out of it.
Right.
Let's make that a family rule. And many families make those kinds of rules.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's not like you're hiding anything. You're just trying to make sure, particularly in these hyper-political times, that you're keeping things, I'll say, under control. They keep things pleasant for those who don't share your beliefs.
Sure. And there's a time and place for those. And you can have if you need to go if you want to go in a room, or you're out on a balcony or a patio and you want to have a one-on-one conversation with somebody.
Yeah, go on a walk.
Yeah.
Take a break between dinner and dessert. There'll be some time. Go take a walk, and you can have all the discussion you want. But in the room, I want to make sure that it stays civil. And I know that's very hard for people to take the bull by the horn. I'm using cliches today, to say, okay, look, I want to head off confrontation. Mm-hmm. I want it to be really a symbol of the holidays.
Yeah.
And, every once in a while, I get these flashes as I'm talking to you, Jonathan. And it occurred to me this morning that my computer mispronounced words.
Okay.
So, and the word, the current word it's mispronouncing is Hanukkah.
Oh.
And what it does, it puts the accent on the first syllable. So every time I type the word, it says Hanukkah.
That's funny. That's good.
And it took me a while to figure that out. The same as when I type out Ninth Avenue, the computer says Ninth Ave. So I'm assuming it's a Roman Catholic computer. I don't know. That's a holiday joke. But the thing is to make sure that we don't mispronounce, and know what we're doing.
Right.
Now, the other thing, and this has to do with the physical disability, because we do, talk about this, is particularly with that person, or if the host or hostess doesn't say anything, I think it behooves you, the person, particularly if it's a new disability, like an older person who's having trouble with macular degeneration and coming to the party for the first time, to take the weight off the host or hostess and say, look, this is what I need. This is what I would appreciate if you would do. Whether it's, I don't like to do buffet lines.
Oh, yeah.
So I know I'm trained to do buffet lines, but particularly when I have a dog with me, who is big enough to have his nose at table length. It's not a good idea.
I'm sure Aiden loves Thanksgiving and Christmas.
That's right. He's just like, why am I not getting any of this? So in that kind of a situation, just let someone know that you'd appreciate if they would go through the line for you and bring you the meal. And tell them whether or not you need the food cut up into small pieces. Some people do. Some people don't. They're comfortable with slicing a big piece of turkey. And I know sometimes I stick my finger in the dinner to hold the turkey down. But that's my prerogative.
Right. That's just how you do it.
Right. And also in terms of letting people know if they're, whatever the disability, how they can best help you.
Yeah.
Because it takes the weight off them to guess. And oftentimes they think they have to do more than they actually do. And that takes some stress off everybody else.
Yeah, I also think that to add to that, being your own advocate is very healthy. But then if you can have somebody there with you who knows what you've gone through, who can also advocate for you, kind of makes the experience a little bit better. It smooths things over. They can help you, if like you're going through the buffet line or whatever, or you need, directions to the bathroom or, whatever you're doing.
Particularly that, right.
Having somebody that you can rely on, who you feel safe and comfortable with, is a great way to help massage those uncomfortable moments.
Sure, absolutely. It was nice at a recent dinner. Penn Street was there, so we know each other well enough to that if I needed something, she was just able to step in, and Moses also. So I was fully comfortable. But it's really nice to have that. If it's a new situation, which sometimes happens with an office situation, then you may have to just, grin and bear it, but be willing to say, okay, I need this, or can someone help me find the restroom? And I'll tell you, one of the things that makes the difference is having a sense of humor in that kind of situation.
Absolutely.
I have saved my own butt many times by joking, simply because I know that other people, a blind person, what am I supposed to do? Give me a break. Yeah. And in fact, what happens sometimes, people will say, do you need help? And my response is, I'm beyond help.
Yep.
And, that humor helps to break the tension they're feeling. Then I can explain what it is. I would appreciate you doing this, or no, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
And or even say, I wish Aiden would do a little more in helping me, like bringing my dinner, but I can't trust him with that. And that's so off the wall that it helped people to relax more around me.
Right.
And it's real tough sometimes because people really are so afraid. They treat us like fragile china.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes. And I don't want that.
No.
And nor do I think anybody in my audience, particularly. But the thing is, when you're newly impaired, let's say, or newly has a disability, it's going to be a little uncomfortable trying to get used to it and telling people that what you need. And that's where other people just saying, is there any way that I can assist you?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which is better than, do you need help? Because it feels like it puts me in a one down position when they say, do you need help? But if they say, is there any way that I can be of assistance to you? Then it's an equal. And, in that way that communication can begin. And, so just people can relax around you and be able to give help and get the newly handicapped person to use to, okay, I'm all right. I can be an equal to everybody else. And, that's crucial. Again, one of the questions that a hostess could ask you, or you tell the hostess, do you want me to say anything about what your needs are?
Sure.
Or say what's going on if it's difficult for you to, quite explain it. And if you're okay with that, by all means, whatever makes everybody comfortable, as comfortable as they can be.
Yeah.
And once they understand that you're not fragile china, then they can just relax and know that, you're just like everybody else.
Well, there's two things I want to bring up in addition to that. When I relate this to like taking my kids to go see an older family member who may not have seen them for a long time and their health is deteriorated. I'm going to explain to them like grandma and grandpa are having a hard time right now. They may not remember who you are but be kind to them, have fun, be gracious. And if you want to ask questions, you can. And I think that's another big thing is being able to ask questions. Right. And because you were in a situation where you can come up and ask me questions. I have no problem about that. I would rather you ask me questions about what's going on rather than just assume something.
Exactly.
So with all of that, we flip the other side of the coin. If you're the person who is either sighted or you're the one who's quote unquote normal, which that's not really a thing, but if you consider yourself the normal one, but if you have somebody who's coming in either with an ailment, a diagnosis, blindness, some other handicap, then how should you go about reacting or approaching those conversations? What's a good way to handle that?
Well, you can walk up to them and say, "Hey, can you see me?"
I was not ready for that, Bill. Well
see
played.
What I mean, what it does to you. But the thing is, if it's appropriate, you might say even privately, I understand that you're having some vision change, and put it in kind of neutral terms. Is there any way that I can assist you? Or, I would be curious to know more about what you're going through if you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Give them permission not to say anything.
Absolutely.
And you see, that's when we get into, people with any kind of disability goes through stages in order to come to the position of acceptance.
Right.
And if somebody is in that second stage, which is, oh my God, I've got this disability, and I'm, and they're in the, passing, but other people around them are telling, hey, Joe's losing his eyesight, or Joe can't walk very well, so be careful.
Yep.
And Joe doesn't know that then it becomes a little bit uncomfortable.
Yes. Very much.
So saying something privately, not in front of the whole room,
No.
but privately, they say, I understand, I'm told this, and I'm curious as to about it because I've never encountered it. And if you feel comfortable talking about it, great. If you don't, fine. I'm not trying to push. Give that person the leeway to decide whether or not to share with you.
Right.
And to even be able to, might be say, it's so new. I'm just so upset. I have trouble even talking about it. Say, you can say, I can understand, the difficulty in being so new. Or if someone has lost a partner, or whatever it is, give them permission not to say anything more.
Yeah.
As well as to lend an ear and to hear what they want to tell you.
Right. Well, I think,
and one of the things that's very helpful in communication, and I teach it to couples all the time, because couples don't do it, and they kind of resent it when I bring it up because it feels a little stilted. But I invite couples to hear their partner out and then paraphrase what they heard before responding.
Heart talks. Yep.
And in that way, say, because that tells the talker that you've heard him or her, and also that you understand what has been said.
Yep.
That's the two, and people, all of us, really appreciate knowing that somebody understands what we're trying to tell them.
Yeah.
And that's when a dialogue can come up, because if once you have indicated what you do understand, but there's something that you didn't understand, the person can correct, and you can, support each other in that dialogue. But it takes time, and it takes some effort to reach out, to be there for that, whoever that person is, under any circumstance.
Yeah.
And, and to be sure that there is permission to discuss whatever it is that's going on, because the person may be very private and just not want to talk, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And give permission. Don't keep bullying, as some people do. Well, I think it's better for you if you talk about it.
Right. Yes.
No. And a party of 30 people? No, I don't think so.
No, that's not a safe environment.
Yeah, that's not a safe environment. And, what you want to do is create that comfort for the other person, because they may be scared as hell to be there.
Absolutely.
And you want to kind of say, okay, it's safe. If you want to just talk with me, fine. If you want to talk at another time, fine. And that's what you're trying to do in forming a connection. It's just so, so important.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I think this is a good place. I'm going to give out the phone number again, 720-712-8856. If you have questions about this episode, give us a call. If you're trying to come out with a sensitive topic and you need some advice on how to maybe navigate this issue, give us a call. Again, the number 720-712-8856. Bill, any final thoughts from you?
Well, I'm going to wish everybody, we'll have some more programs, but, look forward to a happy holiday with as little tension as can possibly be managed.
Yep.
So best wishes. This is Bill Lundgren, your host, with Jonathan Price. the producer and fellow host. We'll look forward to the next episode of Blindside.